Welcome back. You're still watching The Globe on the SABC News channel. Lawmakers in the Democratic Republic of Congo have dismissed Prime Minister Sylvestre Ilunga Ilunkamba on Wednesday evening, and this was during a parliamentary plenary session held in Kinshasa. The dismissal came after the majority of the lawmakers passed a vote of no confidence to llukamba, alleging that his inability in management of the country. The National Assembly approved a motion of censure against him and his government by 367 votes to 7. Under the Democratic Republic of Congo's constitution, parliamentary censure requires the Prime Minister to step down within 24 hours. The Prime Minister boycotted the session, terming it illegitimate under the Constitution and internal regulations of Parliament. The session was also boycotted by pro-Kabila party MPs, who also stressed that the Parliament session had no mandate or capacity to organize the vote according to the Constitution. President Felix Tshisekedi and his two new allies still do not agree on the appointments of several heads of major institutions following the end of the alliance between him and former President Joseph Kabila. Tshisekedi, who took office in January 2019, has been frustrated by a coalition government with Kabila's allies winning parliamentary majorities in the same election. Now we're now joined from the DRC city of Lubumbashi by Aime Zonveni, who's the Kinshasa Times Editor. He joins us now via Zoom. Thanks so much indeed for joining us. Always good to have you on the program. So the Prime Minister has been ousted by Parliament. What prompted this move, do you think?
Well, if you want to look at the move from a purely legal perspective, it would be, according to the members of Parliament, his poor performance. But in fact, the move is simply one of the many tactics now being used by President Tshisekedi to take over all the reins of power from former President Kabila. It was first started by removing from office the Speaker of the National Assembly, thereby enabling Tshisekedi to take over control of the Parliament. And now the next stage is also take over control of the executive, which has just happened.
All right. So from this, we can read that Mr. Ilunkamba is a Kabila man.
Indeed, he was appointed as Prime Minister from the coalition government, but he was hailing from what they call the FCC, or the Common Front for Congo, which is basically the political platform which is led by Kabila. So indeed, he was representing Kabila's side, the coalition.
I believe that former President Kabila has a strong standing in Parliament in terms of numbers. How is it then that so many people were able to vote out the Prime Minister?
I would rather say that he did have a majority until when we got to December of last year, when President Tshisekedi started trying to turn over that majority by convincing, whichever way he did it, most of Kabila's members of parliament to join his camp, which is known as the Union Sacrée de la Nation, or the Sacred Union for the Nation. And the fact that 367 MPs showed up in that vote of non-confidence indicates that the majority that now emerged from that tactics is big as nearly 60%. So to me now, there's a change of majority in the parliament in favor of President Tshisekedi.
President Tshisekedi, former President Tshisekedi, Kabila and his party have said that this move is unconstitutional and illegal, and that Parliament doesn't have the capacity to do what it's done. I suppose this will get tested, but it does seem that maybe the Kabila era is slowly starting to evaporate.
Indeed, and I think the only legitimate point in the whole process is the fact that The office of the parliament, which has presided over that vote of non-confidence, is a provisional office, because the former speaker and the office she was managing has been removed. And according to the constitution, the provisional office has only one mandate, namely to elect the definitive office of the parliament, which has not happened. So voting and presiding over a motion of non-confidence technically is not within the remit of the provisional office of the parliament. That being said, still 367 MPs showed up and voted out Ilunga Ilunkamba, which demonstrates that progressively, not only Kabila has lost control over the legislature, he is now losing control over the executive.
Why do you think that there's this appetite to start to push former President Kabila away? Because he did enjoy, as we've just discussed, quite a bit of power and still had sway. But it seems as if people just don't have that appetite anymore.
No, I think progressively, as we started the term of office of President Tshisekedi, a lot of dissensions started appearing within the FCC or Kabila's political platform, with a lot of people being disgruntled and unhappy of how that platform was being managed, some not having seen their expectations met, and therefore it became easy for them to switch sides and join the new political platform that has been created by President Tshisekedi.
Well, let's talk about that political alliance. I believe it's called the Sacred Union. We've learned in South Africa that coalition politics is not the easiest, and that's when there's even a few parties. But it sounds like there's more than 20 parties that have come together in this political alliance of President Tshisekedi. For the time that they have a common enemy, perhaps it's easy to manage, but it does look that it could be quite difficult for him to keep it all together going forward, particularly if he's not able to allocate positions in the right places.
It will definitely be difficult. Actually, it has always been difficult at the DRC, where you have more than 400 political parties. So this is a very fragmented political arena that we have in the DRC. But that fragmentation also plays in the hands of whoever is in power, because then he can gain or get to his side as many people as possible. And for the day, that works for whatever political purpose that is at hand. And I think that is exactly what President Tshisekedi is trying to do.
What can former President Kabila do in retaliation? I would imagine that he may have concerns about what this might mean for his own situation, personally.
Well, right now, I think what we will see is that many that used to be staunch supporters of Kabila will be either effectively or just for the sake of providing the semblance of support to President Tshisekedi. Kabila definitely has beat a retreat in the Katanga province, where he is trying to strategize on how he might try and regain some control over the political situation. But it might be difficult because his supporters and all the levers that he had to do that now are being taken away from him.
All right, so generally, the public, how are they reacting to this? How are they likely to react? Because all of this has happened in the last few hours, I guess.
The public, at least those that are on the side of President Tshisekedi, are overjoyed to see that finally all the constraints that President Tshisekedi was presenting and saying that was preventing him from effectively delivering on his promises are now being one after the other being removed. So President Tshisekedi said now quite expecting to see change happen, and Tshisekedi being able to finally advance his agenda. But that is a wait-and-see situation, because now he's only got another 2 years in power before his term of office ends in 2023.
We're talking about former President Kabila and President Tshisekedi, but there is another character who ran for the presidency in the last election, Mr. Fayulu, who got 34.8% of the vote officially. Where is he in all of this? Because there does seem to be a shifting of the sands in terms of the political space, and yet technically he had the second loudest voice in the country in the last election.
Mr. Fayulu has maintained his position. He has remained quite unchanged. He said that all the processes that we are now witnessing are only a way of trying to right or to fix all the irregularities that have been noticed and that to him have been real in the elections that were held in 2018, and he does not believe that this separate union will be an effective solution. For him, instead, he believes that we should go back to polls, maybe an early elections, so that we again consult the people on who exactly did win the elections. So he did not want to be part of this whole process that President Tshisekedi has initiated. He is still in the opposition, and he maintains his position that everything Tshisekedi is doing will be to no avail.
Can former President Kabila still be a disruptive force for President Tshisekedi now that the gloves are well and truly off?
I did not hear very well what you said. There was a break-up.
I was just saying, can former President Kabila be a disruptive force for President Tshisekedi now that the gloves are well and truly off?
I think it will be very difficult in the sense that gradually, as we were moving, as we're progressing into the 5-year term of office of President Tshisekedi, we've seen that President Tshisekedi gradually is starting to regain control. He started with a part of the military, then he went on to regain control of the parliament, and now it's the executive. It becomes quite unlikely that President Kabila would be able to turn back the tides that now seem to be really against him.
All right, Aime, we're going to leave it there for the time being, but it looks as if developments happening quite quickly in your country. We'll catch up with you again soon for the next installment of this unfolding story. Thanks so much indeed. Merci beaucoup. À bientôt.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me. Merci beaucoup.